Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielsen and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
What's good, Lock Shoppers? Welcome to the show. Huss and JBM with you today as Dusty continues his tour of the Western Hockey League. I believe that final gets going again tonight back in Moose Jaw. The Warriors up 2-0. You can check that out on TSN, but I would imagine most of you, whether you're out here by in Winnipeg, if you're further west than Edmonton or in Alberta, are going to be glued on this hockey game tonight. Huge one for the Oilers. We're going to get to that, hit the lines in the National Hockey League, the NBA as well. And then we'll have to get Jake's thoughts on some PGA Championship talk. It is major week, and of course, we'll have the big show tomorrow with our picks for the second major of the year. Welcome to everyone listening on the Edmonton Sports Talk live stream. A shout out to everybody in chat. If you're with us live on YouTube, hit that thumbs up and say hi to the rest of the gang in the chat as I say hi to Jake Boland-Moss. JBM, what's up, buddy?
Not too much. I was just firing out a tweet there, so that's why I'm up at everyone's grill on the screen. So just getting a tweet out, promoting the show. Excited for big lock shop here. It's a huge week. I mean, we got some great series in the NHL, NBA. It's PGA Championship week. You know, Pendy's had a couple good weeks in a row. I know you guys touched on that yesterday. And you guys didn't get to it yesterday, but he is right in this race for the Olympics. Nick Taylor's kind of got a good grasp on official world golf rankings, but it's Connors at 49, I believe. Hadwin at 52 and Pendy's at 54. If he can jump Connors and Hadwin, he would have that second spot for Canada at the Olympics. So exciting stuff. Hopefully the next few weeks, by the end of the U.S. Open, we'll know who's going to be in for Canada and the rest of the world. So it's a big couple weeks here for a ton of golfers across, you know, all not just the PGA, but LIV as well.
Well, exactly. I mean, like, this is going to be a really interesting tournament with the fact that a number of LIV players were granted invitations. We are really going to be seeing best on best, the best of the LIV Tour, the best of the PGA. It's a huge field, but just for Taylor Pendrith, a massive opportunity. You know, the world ranking points go up significantly for the majors. He's been on a run right now. Unfortunately, that 500-1 that was hung on him when he first got into the PGA Championship's no longer there. He had another good week last week, Quail Hollow. I believe he's 150-1, but we'll get to that later on. Listen, just before we dive into tonight's odds, and in particular, the Oilers-Canucks game, we got to get to last night. And listen, I don't want to make light of this because Valeri Nichushkin obviously has some serious issues. The third time in a year in the NHL Player Assistance Program. You know, his first visit came under very sketchy circumstances last year in the playoffs. He left again earlier this season and missed a significant period of time. And then shortly before the game last night, we learned, and we found out afterwards, that the rest of the Colorado Avalanche learned that their top scorer in the playoffs was back in the program, having failed the drug test and suspended for 6 months. I say selfishly, we had a pretty beautiful 3-gamer yesterday in the lock shop. We had OKC. We had Carolina. I'm not sure I would have backed the Avs the way that I did if I knew what they'd be going into last night, not to mention missing Devon Taves. But as far as Nichushkin goes, you hope this guy gets the help he needs. But Jake, in listening to his teammates last night, in particular Jack Johnson, a pretty respected veteran player, saying he made his decision, and that's all he was going to say on that. Cale Makar speaking after the game, very clearly, this absolutely rattled the Colorado Avalanche before the game last night. And, you know, if you tuned in midway through the game, you saw a team that was down 2 goals and was being outshot 22-4. Now, to their credit, they picked it up. They got back into the game. It was 3-1 until Dallas scored late. But this isn't just any player for the Colorado Avalanche. I know we focus in on Makar and Ranton and McKinnon, but take it from a Jets fan that watched that 5-game series. Nichushkin was the guy that absolutely killed Winnipeg. And to lose him in that fashion under these circumstances again, really deflated Colorado last night. And now they're up against it, having to win 3 in a row just to keep their season alive.
Yeah, it's serious stuff too, right? It's phase 3, which I was reading a little bit into it yesterday. That means phase 1 didn't go too well. He went in, I believe, was that earlier this year? I think he was back in there, and then obviously didn't follow through. Failed that process, and now is into phase 3. So it's 6 months no pay. And then possible eligibility for reinstatement. But you just hope the guy can get back on track, just, from a human level of things. And you talk about the Avalanche and how important he is. Like, if you're talking about big fours, and that's all the talk here in Toronto is big four, big four, big four. But, he's, you could argue he's that fourth piece to the puzzle. And when he's not playing, it's a substantially different team. The power play looks different. The top 6 looks a lot different. So we saw he was out last year. Colorado didn't get out of the first round, and now he's out again this year, and they're on the ropes once again. So it's unfortunate. You hope the guy can get it sorted, get it figured out. But like you said, the Avalanche look a little bit rattled, and it's quite the hole against a Dallas team that really has just been foot on the gas here. They lose game 1 and they've won 3 straight now. Do I have that right?
Yep.
Yeah. So it's interesting times right now. I'm just hoping for some game 6s here, Huss. I'm hoping Edmonton gets off the shine tonight, ties us up. I can't have a bunch of series ending on game 5s. That's no fun.
No, well, and hey, the Carolina Hurricanes helped us out in that case last night. Big third period rally against the New York Rangers, getting the series back to rally. Excuse the pun. It was 3-0 for the Rangers, but that series was razor thin margins in all 3 games. The game last night was the first game that hadn't been a 1-goal game in the entire series. So for Carolina to be able to come back in the fashion that they had going into the third period, facing elimination, down 1 on the road, a huge win for Rod the Bod's team. And, we kind of joked about how low the number was on the Canes when they were down 3-0 to come back and win the series at plus 700, just because of how much the books and Coolbet particularly had seemingly liked the Carolina Hurricanes all along. Well, Jake, they're right back in this series, and they win on home ice in game number 6, and it's going back to MSG for a winner-take-all game 7, and not too many people had that when the Rangers were up 3-0 after the first 3 games.
Yeah, plus 205 now to win this series, so it's come way down, and to get a chance to go back home for game 6 and force a game 7 is huge in its own right, and Carolina's given themselves that chance. I watched the first 2 periods last night. We had men's league, so we had to get out of here before the third. But I didn't think anything was going to get by Shesty the way he was playing. He looked so calm, cool. And then we get to the rink, and it's 2-1 and 3-1 by the time we're on the ice. So we figured that was probably it. It's interesting, no response from the Rangers. They tend to have a response. Even in the game they lost, I believe it was game 4. They came back from a 3-1 deficit and weren't able to get that one done. But, the doubt I think has started to creep in a little bit here for New York. You've now lost 2 in a row. You become a little bit more nervous. You got to go back on the road to Carolina. So it'll be interesting to see how they respond. I think they can still get it done on the road, but I think that was their first home loss of the playoffs. Which is it is all the doubt, and Carolina and Rod the Bod's team is ready to roll here, and getting from some depth guys. I think Aho was off the score sheet, Svechnikov was off the score sheet, so getting it done with some of their depth pieces, and that's what it takes to win playoff games.
Yeah, shout out to our guy from the Peg, Seth Jarvis, who's putting together a great season and a great playoff so far. Freddie gets his win. The Canes live to see another day. So just before we move on to Edmonton, Vancouver, here are the updated series prices. The Rangers are minus 250 and the Canes plus 205 to win the series. Again, the Canes were 7-1 down 3-0. They were 5-1 going into last night's game and now down all the way to plus 205. Maybe we will get that game 7 if the Canes can get that win. And as far as the Avalanche and the Dallas Stars, Dallas minus 11-11, and the Avalanche 7-1 plus 700. I have to say, I mean, the way things transpired last night with the Nichushkin news, with missing Taves, and then losing at home the way they did, I think we might be in for a disappointing end to this series, Jake. I mean, of all this series, the one that I thought we could probably say this one's going to go 7 was Dallas, Colorado, but it doesn't look that way right now.
Well, Huss, I tweeted out a poll yesterday for both the NHL and the NBA, and just to see what people thought on, the series that are most likely to go to 7 in the situation where we were sitting yesterday. And I believe Colorado Stars was, a heavily voted. Yeah, they were the second highest, 42% of the votes behind the Oilers-Canucks. So, you're not the only one who thought that way. And now we're staring down the barrel of a 3-1 series. The Stars, it's backs against the wall time for Colorado. And, we kind of saw this, I can't remember, maybe 3 years ago before Colorado won their cup, where they had a big win in game 1 against, I believe it was the Golden Knights, and then just seemed to fizzle out in those next few games. And you lose a guy like Nichushkin, takes a lot of air out of the room, regardless of the situation. And yeah, it's unfortunate. They got some awesome players there. They've got their cup as well, right? You got to remember that. I know there's, between Winnipeg, Toronto, and Edmonton fans, we're all craving a cup. So we're not going to feel bad for Colorado if they lose out to the Dallas Stars here in the second round. But at the same time, you want to see a bit more fight, right? Obviously, you'd want, and not that they're not going to put up a good fight here in the next couple games, but, it could be the end of their road come tomorrow night.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens. We'll kind of touch on that tomorrow, as well as, of course, our big show making all our PGA picks. But let's get to tonight. And there is so much to talk about in this game 4 between Vancouver and Edmonton. We'll maybe get back to the end of game 3 in a minute and the suspensions and all that. But the big news today, Chris Knobloch going with Pickard over Skinner at home for game 4. I'll throw this to you first. What do you think of the decision? What was your reaction when you heard it?
Yeah, listen, you can't blame the goalie for everything, but I think you can put a good chunk of the blame on Stuart Skinner in this series and in these playoffs. He hasn't been, that stellar, and sometimes it takes a little change like this to turn a series. Think about the Carolina series, Huss. I know it didn't work out for Carolina, but they go to Kochetkov in game 3. He actually had a great game. They end up losing a tough one there in OT. But Freddie comes back in for game 4. Now they've won a couple games. They're on to game 6. They're back home. So a little tweak like this can change a series. It doesn't mean that Pickard's going to be your starter for the rest of the playoffs, but it just says to your guy that you've been riding here, hey, let's give you the night off. Let's see what Cal Pickard can give us. And then, it's still your net to have. The series isn't over if they lose tonight. So it's just a matter of, win this one for Skins, and then you can get him back going for game 5 back in Vancouver.
I'll be honest. I was stunned. I think we heard Stuart Skinner speak yesterday. He apologized. He didn't speak after game 3. Came out and seemed to be in a pretty good headspace and knew where everything was at. Now, obviously, we're not behind the scenes. We're not dealing with the goalie coach, so it's a lot more information. But if this goes bad tonight for Pickard, the Oilers are really up against it. Like, I kind of thought that they might give Skinner another opportunity to get it together, because, the alternative is if Pickard is not good tonight and they don't win, and then you're on the road to Vancouver for game 5, probably going back to Skinner in an environment that will be less than hospitable to anybody wearing Oilers colors, but particularly a goalie that's gotten pulled and benched. That is put it this way, it really puts a lot of the eggs into this game tonight. Now, you can't think about game 5 for game 4. I'll granted for that. I mean, this is about winning this game and getting it to a best of 3 and tying the series at 2-2. And the bottom line is it really does speak to where Stuart Skinner's at right now. If Knobloch is going to Cal Pickard in a scenario like this, not facing elimination, it's not their last straw. It's that he legitimately thinks that going into this game tonight, a change in net gives the Oilers a big chance to win. And listen, goaltending has been a big part of this series, but I mean, like, I don't think that Sheilov stole the game, in game 3. I know that the shots were crazy, and especially in the third period, but like we talked about yesterday, Edmonton hasn't been able to get inside on Vancouver. Their defense has been ruthless in front of their net, and I think as a team, structurally, they've been able to keep the Oilers to the outside, which is really limited those high danger chances that are really where you score goals in the playoffs. I'm just seeing in chat, shout out to some of the folks that are giving us these updates. It looks like Knobloch confirms that Draisaitl and Connor McDavid will be on separate lines to start the game. It looks like it's going to be McDavid with Hyman and Nuge. So, again, a different look up front, a different look in the net, and hopefully for the Oilers and their fans, a different result. Jake, what do you expect we see in the first 5 minutes of this game, considering the way things ended? Is this going to be all business by Edmonton, trying to get out and just not worry about what happened to their captain and franchise at the end of the game? Or will they quickly try to send a message to Vancouver that they won't be having any of that BS?
I think if there's ever a time to send a message, I think it would be to start this game off. You're still in Edmonton. You want to get the crowd into this game, and you need this win more than ever. So I'm not going to be shocked if there's, a couple heavy hits, a couple, not backing downs after the whistle. I think this is one of those games where it's like, okay, like, who are the Edmonton Oilers? It's time to find out tonight because, they're not necessarily backs against the wall yet. But a 3-1 series going back to Vancouver looks a lot different than if it's 2-2. That's the whole thing. And going back to the Pickard stuff, that's the whole thing for me where it's like, if you're going to go to Pickard, I think tonight is the night because if Skinner goes in, has another not-so-great game, and they're down 3-1, then you're kind of rocking a hard place. You probably don't want to go to Pickard in a must-win situation, but Skinner hasn't given you a whole lot, especially, if tonight's game went however we're, hypothetically here. But I think the goalie change is a message you send to the team and say, hey, it's not on the goalie, but you guys need to play better defensively. We saw some poor decision making on that one Besser goal where he kind of just snuck in behind the defense there, and they cough it up, and right as they're leaving the zone, it goes in behind him, and he finds a way to get to the back of the net. I think it's just, the coach is sending a message by starting a goalie. I think the Oilers send a message to start the game here, and I wouldn't be shocked if they come out, get an early one, and that crowd's in it from the jump tonight.
That would be. That's best case scenario for the Oilers. Get one early, get up, get the crowd into it, get the positive vibes flowing. Like, part of the reason, listen, I'm not big retribution guy and, put the number on the board and have everyone go and get away from the main goal, which is winning the game. However, this is a 7-game series, and I can't help but feel that the Canucks have been sort of bullying the Edmonton Oilers, and that was an exclamation mark on that at the end of Game 3 with what happened to McDavid. And I know there's some people, probably not in Edmonton, that say, well, hey, McDavid slashed him. I mean, give me a break. The levels of what happened with, McDavid and Hyman as opposed to what Zadorov and Soucy did are not equivalent. Listen, if you want to give a $5,000 fine to McDavid, whatever, go ahead. I mean, like that matters to a guy making that much money. I think they had to drop some sort of a suspension just because of the end result was a really, really dangerous play to the guy's face. And a big part of it was Zadorov from behind giving him that cross check in the back. Like, you just can't have that happen to your captain and your franchise player. And that's why I kind of think that there will be. Now, this could go. And by the way, Oiler fans in chat, what do you expect to see in the first period tonight as far as aftermath from the incident at the end of game 3, knowing that they can't get in penalty trouble and be down? I just think that the Oilers are going to maybe try and, mix it up in a similar way that the Canucks have been doing to them. And that could make for a long night for the likes of Quinn Hughes, for Elias Pettersson. Like, they cannot back down from the Vancouver Canucks. The Canucks now have basically been created in the mold of Rick Tocchet. And I give them a ton of credit for it. It really is amazing considering where that team was a year ago to where they are right now. But I mean, if the Oilers go down and don't win this series, you can't let your team get emasculated the way they have been at times in this series. And, because that incident happened at the end of game 3, and this has all been brewing over the last 48 hours, there's going to be particular interest as to, where guys like Kane are right off the bat. And, if there's a physical message sent by Edmonton right out of the gate. I mean, you'd love to get up in this game, but I think you also want to feel good. Like, you're on even keel with your opponent. You're not getting pushed around.
Yeah, it might be one of those games where you miss a guy like Zach Cassian just to go stir things up and see what. I know. Listen, I know he's not going to play a ton of minutes in the playoffs, but it is one of those games where it's like, okay, what is the response? Because personally, I think if Soucy he throws the cross check and it hits McDavid in the chest, we might just be looking at a fine there. But
nothing burger.
He's a victim of circumstance where Zadorov, crushes him from behind and he gets him in the face. It can't happen. I think the suspension was probably the right call. I think people probably would have preferred if Zadorov got the suspension. He's been a bit of a pest all series. He's kind of public enemy number 1 in Edmonton, just from what I've been seeing online. And please, Edmonton fans, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure that they're not happy to see him continue to play. And he's kind of the guy that you got to take a look at. And I saw someone say in the chat there, who's going to challenge Zadorov? I have no idea. I mean, he's a monster. I wish the Leafs had got him. Obviously, hindsight's 20/20. But he's been a great piece for Vancouver, and he's going to be a good piece if they continue this run here.
I don't know if Zadorov can fight at all. I mean, to be honest, he's big and he's mean, and he certainly wields his stick with quite a bit of viciousness. No idea whether he can fight. He might be able to, but tell you what, there's been a lot of talk about Evander Kane and his spot in the team, and we kind of know the Kane story. He goes, plays well for a little while, and then eventually wears out his welcome. And it seemed at times like there was some personalities that were, maybe not meshing on the Oiler bench, in particular with Evander. You want to get back in the good books with every single member of your team. I mean, go out there, take on a guy like that. And I'll say this about Evander. He can fight. I mean, he is tough. He'll take on bigger guys, and he's a pretty big guy himself. So, listen, I think that would be a great message to send. If he was able to go and do that. Now, I'm not sure whether we'll be seeing that, but that, and listen, physically challenging some of the star players on the Canucks the way the star players on the Oilers have been challenged so far. Let's get to the lines for this one. So the Canucks are plus 159, Edmonton minus 189. I can't say that I'm surprised, Jake, because of, listen, the talent that Edmonton has, how big of a favorite they were before these series. You knew Edmonton was going to be a home favorite and their situation. I will say, considering the goaltending for Edmonton, the fact that Pickard's going in, the way Vancouver's played so far, the momentum they have going in, That's a pretty heavy price to pay for Edmonton, considering the situation that they're in. And I have to say, I think the Canucks are sort of undervalued right now at plus 159. Not to say the Oilers aren't the favorite and shouldn't be the favorite in this game tonight.
Yeah, might be one of those ones, Huss. We go right back to the well on the over. Another, we get Pickard tonight. The goaltending hasn't been, like the Carolina series. And this seems to be the number that keeps on giving, the number that keeps on hitting here with the over. So, I think I agree with you. I think Vancouver does have a little bit of value if you're just going strictly on the lines. I do like the Oilers to get this series tied up tonight. I think it's, as close to do or die without being do or die as it gets for them, especially with the goalie change. But, my eyes go straight to that total over 6.5 minus 108 right now.
That's the play. I mean, listen, how could we not? It was nice earlier in the series when we actually got plus money for the over 6.5. But when you clear it in 3 straight games, and I imagine, I don't know what the breakdown was at the book, but I imagine it was heavy on the over. I mean, regardless of what people were playing on sides, people
Tends to be
generally like betting overs. And when you've got a team like the Edmonton Oilers in it, you can pretty much count on it. So yeah, the over, yeah, as you mentioned, minus 108 for that play tonight. And I think that is going to be where we sort of settle on this one with the Canucks and the Oilers. As they say, the money line is just a heavy price to pay for Edmonton, considering, their situation going on right now. And I guess if you like Vancouver, if you think they've got it, I mean, you're getting a pretty good number at plus 159. But this is a game. This has to be the Connor McDavid FU game, to be honest with you. I mean, pissed off about what happened in game 3, pissed off about how it ended. McDavid's not going to go beat the hell out of anyone, but he can beat the hell out of your team on the scoreboard. And I think some of those McDavid props are going to be interesting. Let's look for points here. Over 2 points for McDavid's minus 133. Over 3 points for McDavid plus 235. Interestingly enough, I'm not sure whether this is mixed up or what.
I'm seeing it too.
So McDavid's minus 133 for over 1.5, but he's plus 235 for over 2.5, and Draisaitl's minus 110 for over 2.5 or over 2 to get 2 points. But he actually has a lower number than McDavid to get 3.
Yeah,
plus 225. I'm not sure if that's one of those weird anomalies or they just mix the guys up. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I can't explain it, but it is an interesting thing to look at. To get two, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I'll be honest with you. I don't even want to try to sit here and explain it. But yeah, McDavid getting a bigger number for 3+ points as opposed to 2+ points in comparison to Draisaitl.
The most likely goal scorer tonight is Zach Hyman, minus 131. And again, remember, he's playing with McDavid and Nuge tonight. Might be some value on Nuge. What's Nuge at? Nuge is plus 270 to score. And as far as points, what do we got for a couple points for Nuge? Nuggy, plus 265 over 1.5 points. There might be some value there on Nuge with the fact that he's playing with McDavid today. Again, Oiler fans, I mean, you'll be all over this in the Coolbet lines, finding out what the confirmed line with Draisaitl is, and then jumping in. But as they say, if you think McDavid's going to have a big game, plus 235 on over 2.5 points. As I said, he's minus 133 on over 1.5 points. And to score, plus 108 for McDavid to score, plus 480 for 2 goals, plus 1750 for a hat trick. I don't mind that McDavid goal number. Like you want to talk about him coming in and doing I kind of feel like we all know he has the ability to completely take over a game. But I think now with the switch up away from Draisaitl, He really is he's got to be the driver on that line, on the power play, and they need him to have a big game tonight. But again, I think the pick is going to be the over. Not so sure about this other one. Boston Bruins on the ropes. No Brad Marchand. They're plus 167 on the money line to extend their season. And the Panthers minus 199, Jake, to ice their opponents in 5 games and move on and get a chance to chill and wait to see what happens between the Rangers and Canes, despite that series looking like it was going to end first.
Yeah, listen, I think when it comes to the Florida Panthers, it's all business right now. Even last game, they go down 2-0, and it's no sweat. They work their way back. I know that Bennett goal was a little controversial, but it is what it is. They play hockey in a way that, I'm not used to seeing. I wish I was used to seeing. I text my group chat every day, and I say, where do I get myself a Sam Bennett? I'll pay whatever I can to get myself a Sam Bennett. But just they got guys that can help you win in the playoffs. And, it's kind of – I hate to always bring it back to the Leafs, but it's just what I'm so used to. But it's kind of what Tree Living talked about. It's that snot to the game. It's the guys that, are playoff performers. And it doesn't necessarily mean they're racking up a ton of points or anything like that. But they're in the mix. They're causing situations like the Marchand one. You don't hope anyone gets hurt, but here we are in a situation where Bennett gets a sneaky one in on Marchand. He's been out now for a couple games. Yeah, and it's just, you're not going to apologize for injuries. The Florida Panthers just keep on trucking here. If you don't have a thought on it, I was going to say, it might be worth just going 2-gamer. I'm thinking just Florida and Reg. Back home, get the job done. They did it against Tampa. And, Boston's on the ropes. They haven't looked that great outside of game 1. And, I wouldn't be shocked if Florida just takes care of them tonight.
Listen, I'm with you on that line of thinking. Florida and Reg at minus 120 or puck line minus 1.5. I mean, here's the thing, especially in the playoffs. I know last game was 3-2, but more often than not, these teams are going to be pulling the goalie, maybe even earlier than normal if they are down. Now, if the game's tied, we're not winning the regulation bet anyways. The amount of times a team will win by 1 in regulation, or if they're going to win in regulation, win by 2 because of the empty netter, I think goes up in the playoffs. And it's a pretty big difference from minus 120 to plus 137 on that puck line, Jake.
Yeah, I don't mind getting a little greedy and going puck line with it. If you're feeling the Panthers, I'm absolutely feeling them. And like I said, I think Boston's kind of, their seasons run dry here. Not having Marchand is a huge loss, especially to a roster that really, I think we can all agree is a little weaker to begin with. I think Florida continues to do what they do, keep trucking along, and we'll be sitting there waiting to see what happens with Carolina and New York come tomorrow.
So, why don't we throw that up in the lock shop? So Panthers puck line minus 1.5 plus 137. Over 6.5 in the Edmonton-Vancouver game. Actually comes out to plus 356 manually. So get a little boosty on that and throw that up in the partner parlay. And you can jump on that in the Coolbet exclusives. Should be up a little later on. So there are picks for the NHL tonight. Let's quickly just head over to the NBA.
Huss, before we get to the NBA, can I just touch on something quick in the exclusives?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah. Why don't we do the hockey exclusives right now?
Oh, sorry. I was going to get to the other exclusive. We got some Caitlyn Clark exclusives tonight. She's making her WNBA debut.
Oh.
So we do have some player props up for her, but they're in the exclusive section. So Caitlyn to score 22 plus is plus 110. Caitlyn to make 5+ 3-pointers, plus 180. A royal debut, Caitlyn Clark to record 25+ points, 5+ assists, 3+ threes made. It's plus 325. Double-double for plus 325. Triple-double for 20-1. And this is the one I came up with. Fever Dream, Caitlyn Clark, 20+ points, and the Fever to win tonight at plus 450 there. I believe they're 7.5-point underdogs. So Caitlyn Clark making her WNBA debut tonight. Patty mentioned it in the chat, but I just wanted to get to it as well. If you, if you've been into the Caitlyn Clark watch, She goes number one in the draft. She's been a huge story for women's basketball. Signs a deal with Nike. We'll see what she's got tonight in her first game of her career.
It's amazing, and it's so cool. I mean, the Caitlyn Clark effect. I mean, people are paying attention to the WNBA. They're going to be betting on the NBA. They're going to be looking to watch the WNBA, especially when the Indiana Fever are playing. I like the fact that, and it makes a lot of sense that all these Caitlyn Clark specials are there. I now have a team in the WNBA, Jake. I've pledged allegiance to the Chicago Sky because my girl Angel Reese, the Bayou Barbie, is now the Shy Barbie. She went 7th overall to Chicago from LSU, which was the team of the last couple years. My other favorite, Floje, she's staying with LSU. She's just, I think, just a sophomore or a junior going on. So we still have reason to watch LSU when the tournament gets going next year. But I'm going to be riding with some of the, and the Chicago Sky had 2 high picks. I think they had 2nd overall and then 7th as well.
I believe they got the girl from South Carolina. That had a great season. So those two will be a force to be reckoned with in the WNBA for a little while here.
I'm just looking. Do we have WNBA lines?
We do. I can get them up in the hot events there in the popular section. But if you go to basketball and the North America, you'll see NBA, NCAA, and then WNBA down in the top sports there. So
yeah, I think we got to start moving the WNBA into the margin right now.
Yeah, I can get it up there.
Just on that game, Indiana Fever. There's 7.5-point dogs to the Connecticut Sun, plus 267 on the money line. That might be a fun bet. Caitlyn Clark, first game. You get into the romanticism of the whole thing, and then the Sky. Geez, we're big underdogs tonight. 9.5-point dogs in Dallas against the Dallas Wings.
That might be tomorrow night, huh?
Okay, sorry. Yeah, that is the 15th. 4 games tonight. Yep. Liberty and the Mystics. New York is 10.5-point favorites. We mentioned Indiana. There's 7.5-point dogs in Connecticut. You've got the Phoenix Mercury. I believe the Las Vegas Aces are the defending champs. 16.5-point favorites over Phoenix. And then the Minnesota Lynx, 7.5-point dogs at Seattle against the Seattle Storm. Right on. Well, you know what? Start of a new season, way more hype, way more attention. We'll have to stay on top of this in the WNBA. As far as the NBA goes, huge Game 5 tonight. 2 massive Game 5s in series that have gotten to 2-2 in very different ways. Pacers and Knicks, the home team has won all of the games. T-Wolves and Nuggets, the road team has won all of the games. Now, tonight, the Nugs are a significant minus 182 favorite. They've completely flipped that series. Again, remember, they were plus 445 to win the series after losing the first 2 at home. They're back to being a big favorite. T-Wolves plus 153. But this Pacers-Knicks series, much different. And Pacers really clobbered the Knicks in Game 4. Knicks minus 116. Pacers just south of even money at minus 101, Jake. Any thoughts on these two tonight?
Yeah, actually, the one thing I did notice was I had tweeted out the lines for these games, and I've seen the lines already move for the Pacers. They were +2 as dogs, and now they're +1 as dogs. So maybe some money coming in on Indiana, some sharp money that's moving that line a bit. The thing with the Knicks is, they have a great group of players, but they got a ton of injuries right now, and they only really trust so many guys. So you're not getting a ton of help off the bench, and it's really down to those main starters to give you, 45 plus minutes a night. They're asking a lot. It's a classic Thibodeau, just play your guys right into the ground, and it's hard to win a championship that way without getting any help from your depth guys, giving your starters a rest. So, I haven't been tuned in too much to the NBA. I think there's a little value on the Pacers tonight, although it's tough to win an MSG, is one thing I'll say.
But this series could completely flip if the Pacers pick up this win on the road. They'll be staring down the barrel of an Eastern Conference final with a win at home in Game 6. So, listen, it's kind of crazy, Huss. It feels like these second-round NBA series kind of are playing out how the usual NHL would play out. You know, we get the 2-2s, we get some long extended series. I know Carolina obviously extended their series last night with New York, but we were staring on the barrel of a 3-1 Dallas series. At one point, it's a 3-0 New York series. Florida's up 3-1. And it seems to be like, the cream's rising to the top in the NHL, where the NBA, it's really outside of the Celtics, it's really anyone's conference final right now.
Well, absolutely. Nuggets are back, and we did hit that OKC pick last night. Awesome fourth quarter, really second half by the Thunder. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander leading the fellas back. They had a 10-point run at the end of the third to make it closer. They were down by about 14 and then went on a 9-0 run late in the fourth and ended up holding off the Dallas Mavericks. So I'm now 4 for 4 picking that series for the games. I will be on OKC in Game 5. They're minus 182 favorites. I see our guy P. Greggy in the chat. Pat, PGA Championship pairings just dropped. Brooks, Homa, and Spieth playing together will be must-see TV. Damn right. That is exactly right. Oh, I see George Colon also mentioning I see the EST effect has gone into the McDavid number. McDavid opened over 1.5 points at minus 118, and then Dusty did his thing, and it went to minus 133. And Patty says, Patty knows puck is dead. It's Patty Hoops from now on. Yeah, both of us are turning into big hoops guys, as they say. I've got way more basketball futures than I have hockey futures, and I've been having more success picking these games. With OKC, we do have that series price that we got in on them. That was what I used the 20% multiplier for last weekend. Okay, OKC down. We'll jump in at plus money and get them. They're back in the driver's seat in that series after winning it off. But as Pat mentioned, the PGA Championship begins on Thursday at Valhalla. And the big news today, Jake, and we'll get into this with Pat tomorrow, Rory McIlroy filing for divorce today. Now, we always love baby swag, and we talked about what could possibly be a challenge for Scottie Scheffler, number 1 player in the world, and the baby swag he's bringing in. Well, what about Rory and the divorce swag coming off a win last week? Like, again, I don't want to make light of people's personal situations, whatever it happens, but there is a case to you. Sometimes when people get divorced, they're incredibly relieved. They get back to being themselves. They actually get into a good place. And Rory was in a very good place at Quail Hollow. And if he's in a good place, maybe this could be the match. I mean, the all-time narrative battle, baby swag versus divorce swag, with the top 2 favorites in Scottie Scheffler and Rory McIlroy.
Yeah, I don't know the last time we've seen a battle like this. I'm just waiting for the Brooks story to come out, because those two, have won their most recent starts. Brooks, I know it's on Live, but he won his most recent start.
Yep.
Maybe he's got a little something going on, and we can get the Triple Crown for big time stories on 3 guys who are playing at the top of their games right now. So yeah, listen, I look forward to these majors more and more with the way everything is set up now with Live and PGA, because as much as obviously the Pendy stuff was amazing, CJ Cup, but when you don't have guys in the mix, when the names aren't as big at the top of the leaderboard, it can be a little demoralizing. PGA Championship, we've got everyone playing. I'm just looking at some of the groups: Rahm, Cam Young, Ricky Fowler. We got Schauffele, Justin Thomas, Ludwig Oberg. McIlroy's playing with DJ and Justin Rose. Spieth playing with Homa and Koepka. Wyndham Clark with Scheffler and Harmon. Tigers playing with Adam Scott and Keegan Bradley. I know Pendy, the boys sent it over. Pendy is playing with Adam Hadwin and Martin Keimer.
Nice. Couple
Some other
Canadians in the group.
groups. Tony Finau is playing with Hatton and Thagala. Adia is playing with Fleetwood and DeChambeau. Like, every name I'm saying is just a banger after banger. So you just hope a good chunk of these guys are up top of the leaderboard. And we're going to see another good battle here at Valhalla. I'm excited. Listen, I know you guys tend to be, when it comes to the betting side of things, you guys are dialed in the golf. I don't bet a ton of golf, if I'm being completely honest with you. But I love to watch golf, especially these major tournaments. And, we only get 4 a year. So settle in this weekend, folks. Long weekend. It's going to be a good one.
Long weekend. Cannot wait. Well, we'll be all over it. I know Patty's going to be locked and loaded. I will be locked and loaded tomorrow. We'll text Dusty and see if he either wants to quickly pop on or fire us some picks. We'll put together a couple of exclusives. But make sure to join us tomorrow for the PGA. Of course, we'll recap what happens tonight in the Oilers-Canucks game. Hopefully, we're talking about a 2-2 series. This one I think has 7 written all over it. I think it's going to be a memorable one. But for that to happen, they got to get this win tonight, and very interesting with Pickard coming in. So we'll do a recap of what happens tonight. We'll quickly look at tomorrow's action in the playoffs and then really focus in on the PGA Championship tomorrow. But right now, I haven't seen a lot of line movement so far this week. We'll see whether that changes tomorrow. But Scotty Scheffler, the favorite at plus 450, and Rory McIlroy getting back in the game at plus 775.
I know we got to go here, Huss. Couple quick things. Lock Shop online, 4-1. We got it at. So that's Panthers puck line tonight and the over in the Canucks Oilers game. So even you Oilers fans, we can still root for the Oilers and get the over together there. So you can get that in the Lock Shop section. If you're making PGA Championship bets, make sure you're ticking that major contest box. Every single one you make, that's $10 minimum or more. Make sure you click that box. You'll be entered in for the contest. You can go over to the promotions page. You can see the leaderboard now. We mentioned yesterday, it's just going to take 1 or 2 big wins, has you right back in the mix. Even if you're at 0 points, everyone started at 0. The guy leading right now has 300 points, but he hit a big winner. Patty mentioned yesterday on DeChambeau, first round leader. All it takes is 1 big win, and you're right up the leaderboard. So, make sure you're ticking the box. It doesn't add anything extra for you. If you're betting the PGA Championship, you just want to be ticking that box is all. Yep. And then there's a ton of NHL exclusives as well. I won't go through them all. I know you got to get running here. So, a ton of NHL exclusives over there. Check it all out. Big week.
Yeah, and yours truly, 6th place in the majors contest. So come at me, bro. We'll look forward to seeing Patty tomorrow. Jake, we'll hook up later on this week. Great stuff as always. Enjoy these games tonight, and good luck to everyone. And shout out to EvDog for giving us a boost up to plus 400. Panthers minus 1.5. Canucks Oilers over 6.5. Let's get that one tonight. We deserve it after the circumstances of what happened last night with the 2 winners and then the Avalanche, with everything going on over there. Jake, thanks so much, gang. We're going to send you back to Iwanek and the EST crew. Programming continues on Edmonton Sports Talk. For those of you in the PEG or around and want to hang out with us, Winnipeg Sports Talk starts at the top of the hour or over on the Winnipeg Sports Talk YouTube channel. Good luck, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow in the Lock Shop for PGA Championship picks.
And thanks to Huss and Jake there for handling the Lock Shop yet again. Matt Iwanek with you here, wrapping up the Lock Shop, just because we got to qualify someone right now for the VIP table to the Great Outdoors Comedy Festival, which is taking place July 12th through the 14th at Kingsman Park here in Edmonton. Alec, at the official beer of the Great Outdoors Comedy Festival here in Edmonton. We want to qualify someone for the Friday, July 12th. Andrew Schultz, Shane Gillis. Tickets completely sold out for that day, VIP and general general admission. But if you would like some tickets to the Saturday for Kevin Hart or July 14th, the Sunday with Burt Kreischer and Whitney Cummings, be sure to head to greatoutdoorscomedyfestival.com right now to buy your tickets for that one. There's only a limited number of tickets available still for those 2 days. But if you would like to qualify for the Friday VIP table, which you can have a nice 6 o'clock lager in Kingsman, having some fun, having some laughs, text us to 780-218-9999. Let's go Gillis. Text us Gillis, as in Shane Gillis. Gillis to 780-218-9999, and you'll go into a draw to qualify to win that VIP table for 4 to the Great Outdoors Comedy Festival. We're giving that away next Friday right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. So you'll have the rest of this week and next week to qualify for that sold-out show at the Great Outdoors Comedy Festival with Alley Cat as the official beer of the Great Outdoors Comedy Festival here in Edmonton. 6 o'clock Lagers. First signature event. It's going to be July 12th through to the 14th. Coming up next here on Edmonton Sports Talk on TuneIn, iHeartRadio, and on YouTube. It's a version of Two Guys and a Goalie presented by GS Construction, a proud new partner of Two Guys and a Goalie in Edmonton Sports Talk. It's myself and the goalie, Joaquin Gage. And if there's a day that we only have one of Matt Cassian or Joaquin Gage, today's a perfect day for that with Joaquin Gage. For those that may have missed it, but I think most of you haven't missed it, Calvin Pickard starting in net for the Edmonton Oilers tonight as the host of the Vancouver Canucks in Game 4 of their second round series. The GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame, postgame show with Tom Gazzola will get going at 6 o'clock tonight to get you set for this, but we'll also get you set for it next here on Edmonton Sports Talk, as myself and Joaquin Gage will have you covered for that. That's coming up in just a few minutes right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Don't go anywhere.